So one of the things that we've been focusing on at the beginning of session this year is some reforms to our state's unemployment insurance system. It's really driven by two things. One, a desire to help working people. You know, over the last half a year or so, I stood on about 16,000 porches. Someone asked me, how was that different than 4 years ago when I stood on all those porches? And I guess my observation is one of the biggest things is people were home because a lot of folks were out of work. You know, we saw a global economic meltdown and a lot of folks lost their jobs. And I think one of our obligations this year is really to look at how do we help folks get back on their feet. So part of the reform to our state's unemployment insurance system has been really geared towards helping people who are out of work with some reforms to our unemployment insurance system. And the reform proposal is really doing that in a few ways. One, using all federal dollars, it's providing some extension of benefits. And that I think is welcome, particularly for people who've been out of work for a long period of time. Two, there's been an enhancement of what's called the training benefit, so people can receive unemployment benefits while they pursue training opportunities so that they can get new skills and get back into a job. And then three, they're using, again, federal dollars. There's enhancement to the benefits that people do receive, an added $25 per week. And at a time when a lot of people are just struggling to keep the lights on and put food on their table, that I think is a benefit that people could really embrace. And that proposal received unanimous bipartisan support out of the House, and we'll be acting on it in the Senate as well. The other part of the unemployment insurance reforms is some changes with regard to how businesses are taxed. You know, the unemployment insurance system is basically comprised of two components. There's what's called the social tax, and that is the tax that employers receive. And as more people become unemployed and as businesses go out of business, it works like an insurance system, and those costs fall on the backs of the remaining employers through what's called the social tax. There's also a tax which is based on what's called your experience rating. So if you lay more people off as a business, you see your taxes go up. One of the reforms that we're pursuing this year is trying to reduce some of that social tax. You can be an employer, just as an example, you can be an employer who hasn't laid anybody off, and if the state did nothing, you could see your social tax rise by as much as 40% this year. And that's a problem. You know, I mentioned part of the reforms for me are driven by two types of conversations I've had. One, standing on people's porches, and the other in my day job. In my day job, I work in economic development. I meet with about 200 businesses a year, and a lot of them are just hanging on for dear life right now. Margins are really, really tight. And so the notion that employers could, without having laid off anybody, see a 40% increase in their unemployment insurance taxes is a real problem. So the reform that we're pursuing provides a reduction in those taxes, and it's about a $300 million reduction in unemployment insurance taxes. It would benefit about 90% of the employers in our state would see a reduction in their unemployment insurance taxes, and that is welcome relief right now for employers who are just hanging on for dear life. And about 40% of those businesses, I should mention, will see an actual reduction in their tax rate in comparison with the previous year. So these reforms, I think, are good news. It's good news for workers. It's good news for employers. And you know, even the enhanced benefits for workers, I think, is good news for employers, because most of the economic analysis suggests that when unemployed workers get more benefits, they go out and spend it, and you know, local retailers, local businesses should benefit from that too. And I think that's going to be good news as we try to get out of this economic mess that this state and this country are in right now. These reforms are one other thing I'll say on this front. These reforms are unique in this state, in that our state has a pretty healthy unemployment insurance trust fund, so it enables the state to pursue some of these reforms. About 30 states in this country are having to get bailed out by the federal government because they have not properly managed their unemployment insurance system. This state has, and it means we're able to do some of these things to help workers and help employers. So that's a little bit of an update on some of the big kind of early action reforms that we're undertaking this year, and I'll be updating you more next week when we sit down.